I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Hello and welcome to Negative Space, a podcast where we, two art students, talk about not art. Today we're talking about movies.
I mean, that's still, within that area, sort of.
Tangentially related?
Yeah, tangentially. It is encompassed within art, I suppose.
I think we have to rename our podcast.
Negative Space, where we just say things into microphones.
We just talk.
We just have a conversation, and it's sort of nice.
Yeah. So today, well, first of all, it's been 6 months since our last podcast, even though last time we were like, oh, we're gonna start doing this regularly, and then we didn't.
And then we just didn't. So that was cool.
It happens.
It does. We'll do better this time.
We're gonna try.
It's the beginning of a new year, so we can do it.
New year, new episodes of this podcast.
New year, new eps.
But in the time in between, we've been having some adventures and trying to gather some content to talk about.
Oh boy. One such encounter was us hanging out on Samantha's 21st birthday and watching Pirates of the Caribbean for some reason.
You have to specify. You have to specify that this was the most recent Pirates of the Caribbean.
This is the most recent Pirates of the Caribbean. No, if it was the first, 3, it would have been totally justified, right? It's oh yeah, having a nice evening watching Pirates of the Caribbean. No, this is the new one that is on Netflix.
What is it called? Dead Men Tell No Tales? Is that what it is?
Yeah. They took the tagline from the entire series, basically.
Okay, let's just set the scene here. I was excited to see this movie.
I cannot believe that you had hopes.
Because I absolutely loved the first 3 Pirates movies because they're incredible. This is it's not even basically everyone can agree that the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies were masterworks of...
I was talking about them, and I got some flack. People were like, haha, you like Pirates of the Caribbean? And I was like, excuse me?
What the hell? Even my one of my color and story teacher, he was like, yeah, if you want to do film studies, you can try Pirates of the Caribbean because every scene is really well art directed.
Yeah, it's a perfect movie.
Yeah, he's a teacher who really is real fast to shit on other movies. He's like, don't do film studies of this movie because it's garbage. So
yeah.
So, I trust his opinion if no one else. But honestly, it's just a fun movie, Mm-hmm. It has a good story with really compelling plot and characters. And there's no...
really likable characters.
Yeah.
That's an important point to make.
It's funny, and, there's no reason to dislike it. I don't...
Yeah.
So that's the expectation that I had going in. Even though I think we even watched the 4th movie together, the one with the mermaids.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And that one was not spectacular, to say the least.
It was okay.
It was, perfectly acceptable.
I just, I remember coming out of the theater and thinking, wow, I sure don't have thoughts about that. I didn't have opinions after I left, which is kind of, the worst thing that you can do to your movie.
That is exactly how I felt after I watched the new Star Wars movie, but that's a completely different topic. But yes.
Yeah.
So but the thing is, I had heard that the, plot of this new movie revolved around, one of the characters is the son of, Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley's characters from the earlier movies. And I was like, in my head I was thinking, they knew that the last movie, like, didn't do so well because they didn't bring any of the, like, compelling characters from the previous movies, which was, like, part of the whole reason that those movies worked. And so they were like, you know, we realized our mistake, we'll try and bring it back, you know, reference the old movies so that it's, like, a more, like, character-driven, emotionally compelling plot. So I was, like, ready, and I was wrong.
Yeah, well, the problem with what they did is, like, basically, you know, they saw that, right? And they thought, oh, we need to bring back these old characters. But, like, they forgot why people liked them or something. Like,
Yeah.
they like, have Jack, and they're like, oh, okay, well, it's a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, so you have to have Jack. And then they have him, and he's just, like, an asshole.
Yeah, he just, like yeah, they took the worst parts of his character and caricaturized him. Like, they turned him into
like
some, like, stupid parody of what he was supposed to be. Like, in the original movies, you know, it's like, oh, okay, haha, he, like, likes to drink rum, and he's, like, a little bit scatterbrained, and he, sometimes seems like he doesn't know what he's doing, but in reality, he, like, kind of does, you know?
Yeah.
But in the end, you realize that that's, like, kind of like a mask that he puts on.
It's a facade.
Yeah, because, and you can see his real character come through, you know, in, like, scenes when he has to, like, betray people, or, like, you know, when things actually mean something, you realize that that's, like, just his front, and that he's actually, like, a real human being underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie was like, what's that?
The thing about it is that in the first movie, there are slapstick moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this movie, there are slapstick characters. Like,
that's a good way to put it, yeah.
Like, Jack's character is just slapstick. That's who he is. He is slapstick, and I don't understand why they think that people want to watch this. Like,
the worst part for me was the fact that it would have been so easy for them to make it a good movie. Like, the amount of effort that it would have taken to make it even, like, vaguely compelling was very small, because they had already established a universe in which they had these characters, like, coming back and, like, related, and, like, it would have been so easy for them to just, like, to reference the old characters, to, you know, to have, like, to as if they had affected the universe at all, like, in any way that could have worked so well, but instead, they just forgot that anything in the first 3 movies even happened.
The thing is that, like, you know, what's particularly infuriating is they have all of these compelling character, like, relations and plots set up, so it's all there, like, what this character feels about this certain character and how they would react. You, like, understand the character so well that you know how it should be.
Exactly.
As a viewer. But it's just doesn't happen.
Yeah, okay.
And...
yeah, no, continue.
No, I'm baffled. Like, I understand why... You know, I know exactly why I ended up this way, and I'm not surprised. Unlike you, I'm, like, not at all surprised that this movie was like this.
Yeah.
Because I knew that this would happen. But I'm just... It's still mind-blowing, you know?
Oh, God. Let's talk specifics. Like, we decided when we were watching the movie, we both just got progressively angrier as the movie went on.
You got angry. I was just watching.
Okay, whatever. But we decided at the end of the movie that we were just gonna, like, rewrite it, like, right then. Like, it would take us, like, 5 seconds to rewrite the movie. And, well, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, if you still want to after this.
Don't just listen to us talk about it. It's gonna be more fun.
But okay, so the main character, whose name I don't remember anymore, is
Orlando Bloom's son.
Is the son of Will Turner and Elizabeth Turner from the previous movies, who were both amazing characters, right? Like,
yes.
Especially Elizabeth, who goes through this incredible character transformation from the beginning to the end of the first 3 movies, where she's just, like, you know, some, like, rich girl, and then she becomes a pirate, like, she has her own agenda, and then she becomes powerful, she becomes, like, a pirate queen at one point, you know, she takes control of all of this, and she's incredible, and everyone in those movies respects her by the end of it, right?
Yes.
Because they realize that she's strong and compelling and all of this. And then at the end of the movie, obviously, like, you know, she can't be with Will Turner anymore because he's cursed to be on the Flying Dutchman, and he can't set foot on land. And then she has a son, and this is about the son.
Yeah.
And the son goes through these adventures. Okay, so I liked the basic setup of the movie, which is that he's upset that he can't, like, be with his father because his father has to be, you know, stuck on the Flying Dutchman for 10 years because he's cursed. So I like that. Like, I like that as a setup for the plot. Like, he wants to find a way to break his father's curse in order to, so that they can be, like, a family again, so that he can reunite his father with his mother, and he can, like, they can all be together. Yes. Like, that setup was solid. Like, really solid. And then they just pooped all over it.
They took a big old dump all over it.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
It's just like, it feels like they had two different movie ideas and then they put them together.
Yeah.
Like they were like, okay, we have like this magical MacGuffin plot for this movie. It might not have even been anything to do with pirates, right? They were just like, you know what, we have this fantasy movie plot that we want to do. And then there's also, you know, the people that are trying to write the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and they're like, oh, you know, like, it's about Will Turner's son, like, trying to figure out a way to save his dad. Uh-huh. And these two interns that are, like, running around in the halls of whatever, Disney, that are holding the scripts, they run into each other and they mix up all the pages and they just present it to whoever's in charge as like one script. Like, they're like, oh, we mixed them together, let's just give it to. I
absolutely love that idea. It's like that scene from Home Alone where he's trying to get on the airplane, but he runs into the guy who's holding all the boarding passes, and so he just mixes his boarding pass in with all the other boarding passes and just goes on the plane. Yeah, that's exactly what happened, basically.
Yeah. That is what it is.
It's like, and the thing is, they brought back, like, some of the old side characters, too, you know, like Gibbs and Barbosa, and, you know, some of the other, like, characters from the crew, and the thing is, like, these characters all knew, they were all in the previous movies, right, so they met Elizabeth, and they met Will, and even then, they just, like, don't care that he's their son?
Yeah, like, it's like it's not even, it's like he's not even their son, you know? Like, if they were like, you know, like, oh, this, you know, you're trouble, you're the fucking son of, you know, like, Will and Elizabeth, that's no good, but, and, like, I'm not gonna help you, but they just pretend that that's, like, not a thing. Yeah. Like, they don't, I feel like they don't acknowledge it, like, at all, and, like, Jack acknowledges it, like, once, and he's like, haha, Elizabeth's boobs, and it's just like, what? And then, like, they never mention it again.
That was the worst part. It was like, it's like, you know, that could have been such a good moment. Like, by the end of the movie, they were all, like, terrified of her. Like, they all respected her because she, you know, well, not only did, like, one guy think that she was the literal incarnation of the entire ocean, but, like, you know, she was, like, she, like, scared the shit out of them. And in this movie, it's like, it could have been such a good moment where they're like, oh, like, you know, we're gonna, like, capture you and we're gonna kill you, oh, you're, like, our prisoner, and he's like, oh, no, I'm Elizabeth Turner's son, and they're like, oh, no, never mind, like, we don't want to mess with her, you know, like, that could have been so good to have
Elizabeth is so scary, and then they just, like, don't, like, she's such, like, a force in those movies, you know? And in this, she just doesn't exist except for that scene at the very end where, spoilers, Will is obviously has his curse lifted, and then he and Elizabeth, like, she's, like, waiting for him in a fucking field. Sorry, I'm swearing. She's waiting for him in a field. Yeah. And then he comes to her, and they, like, kiss, I think. I don't remember anymore.
Yeah. Oh, and we were so angry that we completely forgot to mention, like, the other main character of the story who is so irrelevant that we forgot about her until now. Like, who's the, it's the, like, scientist lady.
Yeah.
Who...
It's...
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny. like, they, like, have this female character, and they're like, okay, you know, since she lives in this era, she's gonna be, like, a strong scientist woman that is crucified as a witch. And it's like, okay, whatever, you know, that's cool. And then they just, like, it's just nothing.
Like, threw her away.
It just,
you know what people liked from the last movies? Strong female woman. Characters who have their own agency and agenda and who go against, like, the ideals of the time period. Also, she's not going to do anything except get captured and, like, and be Barbossa's daughter? Hold on.
Yeah, for some reason, that was, like, the weirdest thing. Like, he is not... Okay, I don't care how much of a pirate he is not going to have, like, a child. Like, that is not... No. Barbossa does not have children. That is... like, even as a one-night... Who's gonna...
Go on. I'm listening.
Who is going to make sweet, sweet love
Are you
to Barbossa?
That Jeffrey Rush is not an optimal object of sexual desire? That was just terrible. That they, like, kind of just shoehorned that in.
Yeah. Oh, he looked so nasty for the entire movie, too.
Yeah. It was just that, along with the antagonist that had no character motivation.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he exists.
Yeah. They cast that guy from No Country for Old Men, who was really, really scary in that movie, but in this movie, they, like, tried to match move his head to the CGI body, and it just kind of didn't work.
Yeah, he has a very large head.
Yeah, his head was, like, abnormally large for his body, and it was, like, supposed to be, like, floating, because that's his, like, curse, is that he's undead, and that his body's, like, disintegrating, and his, like, hair is just, like, floating around his head all the time. It was just very poorly done, and it just did not look good at all.
You know, like a puppet with strings? His hair was the strings, and his head was the puppet. It looks like that. Yeah. I'm very confused.
And also there was just that one good joke from the movie that we both remember, because it was like in any other movie it would have been just like a mediocre joke, but in this movie it was like, oh my god, that was like so
a joke.
Funny.
It was like an actual joke. It wasn't a non-joke.
It's the part where they're like trying to get from a canoe to the land, and so she like starts stripping off her dress so that she can swim, and like once she jumps overboard, that main character, he's just like starstruck. He's like, I saw her ankles, and that was the one time that we both laughed.
Like, that was such a good line, and then I immediately after, as soon as my laughter for that scene stopped, I was hit with like a depression, because I was thinking, I cannot believe that this is the only thing that I found even moderately, like, entertaining in this entire thing was the ankles comment. Because all the other... Let's talk about the jokes in this movie. Oh, God. Because all the quote-unquote jokes are either, like, sexual comments, or somebody gets hit, or Jack is sleeping in a safe, and it goes through an entire town because they
I forgot
tied horses to it.
With the horses. That was so bad.
I don't know what I watched.
That was it was like the very first scene of the movie where they hitch up like 16 horses to a safe and try and pull it out of the building, but instead they pull the entire building behind them with like horses, and this scene went on for so goddamn long.
Mind you, the scene, yeah, it's like a 15-minute scene for some reason. Like, I do not, and it's not even, nothing's even happening.
Nothing. It's just some CGI horses pulling a CGI building while Jack runs around with a bottle.
And he's like, haha, I'm a drunk, and I fell asleep in the safe, and I slept with the governor's wife or whatever.
Yeah, and I forgot that, like, we were supposed to be making money by robbing the bank or something. Like, he forgets, like, what he was doing the whole time. It's like, oh, God, can we not?
Did he forget?
Yeah, remember? Because he was
I forgot if he forgot.
he forgets that that's what he's supposed to be doing. And then...
Is that what that was? Because I, like, genuinely didn't understand what was supposed to be happening. Because it doesn't make any sense.
And, yeah, and just... Oh, and let's talk about that compass, too, for a minute.
Oh, God. The fucking like...
Like, the whole
This movie is
plot,
making me swear.
The whole plot is supposed to be centered around the fact that the compass is, like, tied to... Like, that was, like, a cool idea, too. That the compass... like, it will show you the way to what you want the most, but if you betray it, then it'll, like, release the thing that you fear the most. Like, that's like, a cool concept, sure, I'll give you that. Yeah. But the fact that he, like, decides just, like, oh, like, I'll sell it for a drink, and then it releases the dead pirate Salazar.
Salieri?
Salamander.
What is Salieri from? Is that an artist?
I don't know.
Salieri.
But everything just felt so unthought through.
You know, and the problem, like, I can understand what they thought that they were doing. They didn't do it, but I can understand what they thought that what they are doing in that scene, where they're just like, oh, you know, like, you know, when you watch that scene, you're like, why would he sell the compass? Like, you know, there's no reason for him to do this. And throughout the movie, not
to mention that he had literally, like, 10 minutes ago tucked a gold coin into his pocket, like, as, like, a humorous scene. Like, he was like, oh, I guess there's one gold coin left in the safe. I guess I'll put it in my pocket.
Yeah.
And then he, like, tries to go for a drink and has to sell this compass, which instead, like, releases his worst enemy. Whatever.
It just, like... I just have... I don't know where to start.
I don't
want to cry.
Let's talk about the VFX sharks, too. Don't forget about
Oh, yeah, those were silly.
Yeah, I just... The thing is, like, other than Captain Salamander's head, the CGI was, like, not horrible, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't really complain that much about that.
The thing with... Okay, no, I remember what I was trying to say about the compass scene.
Oh, yeah.
The thing about that is that you understand, like, what they think that they're doing with Jack's character. Mm-hmm. Like, they're like, oh, you know, like, he's...
drinking to the point that it's, like, destroying his life.
No, not even. Like,
really?
Okay, so that's part...
I thought that was... Yeah.
So that's part of it, right? That's only a small part of it, though. Like, it's just, like, Jack, I guess, like, they're trying to imply that he's like, you know, just keeps failing or something. Mm-hmm. Or, like, you know, he's, like, hitting, like, a rut in his life.
Yeah.
So he has nothing else to live for, and he's, like, sells his compass. Mm-hmm. Like, fine, but you have to actually make it seem like something is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think... When during those earlier scenes we're like, oh, Jack, you know, you screwed up. It didn't feel like it was anything spectacularly
horrible.
Unique. Like, all these characters seemed like... I don't know.
They, like, literally watched the world about to end with him, you know?
It's because they keep coming back, and they're just, like... They just, like, keep, like, returning to him, and they're like, haha, just kidding, we love you. Yeah. But, like, there's nothing to make you actually believe that he's in a rut, because for the last, like, 2 movies, all he's been doing is goofing off.
Yeah.
And it's all been, like, he's been fine. Like, he's, like... He has, like, no feelings.
There's no stakes here.
There's no stakes, and there's no... Like, he doesn't have emotions.
Yeah.
So it's, like, why does this happen, then? There's no reason for it to happen. But we might as well have it happen, because we need to move the plot forward.
That's the disappointment of the entire movie in a nutshell.
There's no characters. There's nothing interesting going on in the plot. It's just, like, general, like, you know, MacGuffin stuff.
And then we had to watch Captain Salamander's CGI face float around on top of his body for, like, half an hour.
Oh, yeah. Old good
Captain Salamander.
Captain Salamander.
Speaking of visual effects, I recently saw The Shape of Water, and I know you have not yet.
No, I'm excited to see the sculpted butt.
It's quite a butt, let me say. It's quite a butt. actually, I wanted to mention Shape of Water not just because, well, you haven't seen it, so I'm not going to talk too much about the plot. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the effects in that movie because I recently read the Cinefex magazine article on Shape of Water and the VFX they did.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so Cinefex it's a magazine that comes out, I think, like once every 2 months or so, and it usually is, they interview like people who are in the studio, who worked in the studio for visual effects for certain like hit movies around that, or like that came out in that time, and they write this really extensive article about all of the visual effects that were in it, basically. It's a really awesome magazine, and the article on The Shape of Water was just really interesting because it talked about the design process that they went through basically to start the movie.
Yeah.
So apparently,
I remember
yeah, no, go ahead.
Sorry. I remember following along to, like, Guillermo del Toro's Twitter a little bit, and he's, like, posting, like, bits and pieces about, like, him working on, especially, like, the costume for fake Abe Sapien.
Apparently, like, the whole movie, before they even went into production, before they even pitched, apparently, like, they spent a long time, like, several months. Guillermo del Toro hired a bunch of, like, really well-known, like, creature effects sculptors to just, like, go to his house and, like, sculpt, like, ideas of what the fish guy would look like for, like, months. They just did, like, tons and tons of, like, they try, like, how to make him, like, as hot as possible, but still a fish.
Yeah.
And, like, it is so funny because if you read the article, it's like, oh, yeah, they spent, like, 2 months trying to figure out the perfect ratio of his shoulders to his hips. And it was just, it's really interesting because they did decide to go mostly practical effects for the creature when they actually shot the movie. So a lot of the shots in the movie are Doug Jones in a suit, like a super skin-tight silicone and foam latex suit. But the issue was that because he was underwater all the time, they had to make, like, 6 of them because they would keep, like, it kept, like, falling apart, and they had to keep repairing it, and they'd have to repaint it all the time because it would be underwater.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a really interesting article on the VFX in that movie. So if you get a chance to check out the Cinefex magazine, I would highly recommend it. I think the same magazine also has, like, Wonder Woman in it, and I read that one, but it was less interesting because the Shape of Water one was just really well written.
Yeah. I really need to watch that movie, and I saw bits and pieces from that article actually going around. I don't subscribe to the magazine, but I just, like, saw them, like, you know, because the layout looks nice.
Yeah.
So I was just looking at photos of, like, how the layout with the photos and, like, article bits looked online, and I really want to, it seems super interesting, you know? Like, it's cool. And also, I love Doug Jones.
Yeah.
Because he's, like, in tons of stuff. Like, right now he's in Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he plays Lieutenant Saru.
Is he himself, or is he...
No, he's totally a monster. He always does monsters.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever seen him with his real face.
Yeah, no, he's, like, always... He's really cool. I love Doug Jones. And the best part about him is that no one ever knows that it's him. You know, it's not like you can recognize his face. Well, I'll send you some pictures.
Like him and Andy Serkis, you know? Those are the two of them that always just end up as other things in a movie. It's like their entire career is based on that now. Yeah,
it's kind of cool. I wouldn't mind being that because nobody would ever recognize me in public. I
don't know. I think I'd probably recognize Doug Jones because his...
Would you recognize me in public?
No, never.
No. Yeah.
I would never. God, who's that? Yeah. Anyways.
What were you saying about Doug Jones?
Oh, no. I was just saying that I think his face is almost the same in Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four movie. So I think it's, like, kind of similar.
I didn't like that movie, so I don't remember.
I only remember that about him because in the article it also mentioned how he, when he was acting the part, Guillermo del Toro was like, oh, we don't want Abe Sapien from Hellboy, we want, more like Silver Surfer from Fantastic Four.
Yeah. That's so funny that he plays Abe Sapien and this fish man.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely respect all the work that went into design, but they look the same.
Yeah, well, it's because it's, I totally respect Guillermo del Toro writing his Abe Sapien fan fiction. I'm completely happy with that. It's great. I'm fine. He was also, like, 2 characters in Pan's Labyrinth, and he was in Crimson Peak.
Yeah. Oh, he was
Remember
in
Crimson Peak?
Wait, he was in Crimson Peak? What was he in Crimson Peak? Was he the ghosts?
Hold on. I have to check. I'm gonna check right now.
I
love Crimson Peak so much. We have to talk about Crimson Peak.
We already talked a whole episode about Crimson Peak.
Did we?
Yeah,
oh,
we
right.
did.
We sort of did.
No, we definitely did an entire
We, like,
episode
did it in
about
depth?
Yeah, we did an entire episode about bad movies that look good, and that was the number 1 movie. We talked for, like, a solid 45 minutes about it.
It's because it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like... Oh, it's so good. Okay, we're gonna stop talking about Crimson Peak, but he was the ghosts of Edith's mother and Lady Beatrice.
Okay.
Beatrice.
So he was the ghosts. He was like...
Yeah, he was the ghosts.
Okay.
That's cool.
Makes sense. But, yeah. Good man.
He is very cool.
I loved... Wait, one of the things in the article that was really funny to me, too, so usually when they are trying to blend CGI and live action, they use tracking dots on people in order to create... So, in the Wonder Woman article, they talk about how usually they invest, and it costs a lot of money to do this, but when they make high-budget action movies, they invest a lot of money into making a 3D double, a digital double of the main characters.
Yeah.
And then they'll put tracking dots on the actors so that when they go into post, they can recreate the entire scene using their digital double and then edit in the parts that they need to be CGI. Mm-hmm. And when they did The Shape of Water, instead of putting tracking dots on the suit, they actually made the patterns on the suit, like the fish, kind of, the fish man has like these like yellow patterns on his like arms and his back and stuff. They thought that if they made the patterns strong enough, then they wouldn't have to use tracking dots because they could just track using the patterning on the suit. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's like... I don't know how to explain it. It feels like super high tech somehow. Yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah.
As opposed to like giant CG shark
man,
and zombie shark, and floating Lieutenant Salamander.
You not only did you call him Salamander, but you demoted him too.
Yeah.
Damn, that's gotta hurt.
Oh my god.
Do you want to talk about that movie you were telling me about earlier?
Oh yeah. So speaking of Pirates of the Caribbean isn't super recent. This is more recent. I went to see Mary and the Witch's Flower, which is a movie by a studio that's not Ghibli, but it looks like it's by Ghibli because it's by a bunch of artists that basically split off from the studio and made their own studio. It was really bad.
How was the story?
The story was the worst part.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it had a bad story. The character animation, I mean, it was okay. I don't like how it looks. You know, like, everything looks like it's made of rubber in, like, this new movie. Mm-hmm. And, like, it's kind of like, those, like, other, like, newer Ghibli movies, not, like, because there's, for some reason, I think it was after Ponyo. Like, mm-hmm. Ponyo, like, started it a little bit, where, like, everything in Ghibli, like, is starting to look kind of goopy for some reason. And, no, I'm being serious. Uh-huh. You know, I noticed it in, The Secret World of Arrietty, or whatever it's called in English.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. It's just... So, the art style, it's not that big of a deal, but I'm not really a fan of it. The real problem is the everything else. Like, the characters are weird, and you, like, don't really understand their motivations, and, like, the script is, like, uncomfortable and awkward, and it, like, I'm not sure if that's a problem with the dubbing or if the original script was that bad, because this movie is based off of that book, the little broomstick. And
okay, I don't know it, but go on.
It's just, so she keeps calling, like, this broomstick that she's riding on Little Broomstick. Mm-hmm. And it's just sounds weird. It doesn't sound right. Mm-hmm. I don't know, there's just, like, something about the character design and stuff just seemed off to me. And the character, like, you didn't really understand, like, the motivations of the characters. Like, they, like, would say what the motivations of the characters was, but you didn't feel it.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said, like, all of this, all, like, the funny animation, the character design all could have been forgiven if the story was, like, solid. But it wasn't.
Exactly.
So it failed.
Yeah. The story itself was just, like, it could have had potential.
Yeah.
I think. Like, most stories have potential. It's just in how you tell it. Mm-hmm. You have to tell it the right way. But things started happening in this movie that just felt like there was no reason for them to, like...
The reason I wrote in the show notes about this, too, is because I'm in a class right now called Color and Story, which is kind of it's a color theory class, sort of. So the final is that everyone does the same story in the class, and then you design characters, and then you do 4 key scenes from the story using color. Like, color has to play into the storytelling.
Yep.
And my teacher was telling us about, he's like, usually he tries to discourage people from doing, like, anime or manga style stuff. Because but
there's a bias.
Yeah, there's a bias. But it was funny, and he was like, yeah, we used to tell people, like, you can't really do that because there's only one place that you could show a portfolio like that and get a job, and that's in Japan. And it's a very narrow market, and, you'll be working, like, 14-hour days for, like, 50 cents or something like that,
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I used to tell people all this. And then last term, someone decided they were going to do their entire finals, like, all of their key scenes and their characters in, like, a Studio Ghibli style. And
He changed his mind?
They told him not to do it, but he was like, no, I guess, I don't know, but he ended up doing it.
Yeah.
And he showed us the finals, and they were really nice.
Yeah.
And then Richard was like, and then he got a job at Studio Ghibli.
Yeah.
So that's what happened with that.
Yeah, I'm not very surprised. That sounds about right. But Studio Ghibli is also kind of, like, in a decline right now. I don't know if the studio's, like, actually done for, or if they're just not making stuff. It's
not
very
only
weird.
that, yeah, I think the culture of the work environment, too, is, like,
it's
harsh,
changed.
too.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. But that was just a funny story that I thought I'd share.
Yeah. Man. You should, if you ever go to Japan, you have to go to the museum, because they have a bunch of amazing art stuff in there.
Yeah.
Like, it's all just, like, production work, and, like, they basically have, like, like, Miyazaki's, like, just, like, a bunch of, like, watercolor paintings by him of, like, shots and, like, character designs and, like, background, mock-ups that are just, like, beautiful.
Well, if I ever went to Japan, it would be with you, so I'd just make you take me around.
Yeah, no, I'd totally show you around, because I've been to that museum, like, 5 times.
Someday.
We should go.
We should
go when we're both, a little older and a little richer, That's the time.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Are there any new movies that are coming out that you're excited for?
Ooh, I'm not sure about new movies, but there's movies from the last year that I want to watch. And you know what I just watched that was really good?
What?
I watched this movie about Instagram called Ingrid Goes West.
Interesting.
And it's amazing.
Is
It's
it a
a horror movie.
Oh.
Wait, what?
I was gonna ask if it was a documentary.
No, it's a fictional movie. It's not actually a horror movie. I just said that because it's like horrifying.
Okay.
Like it's genuinely like really scary. But it's about this girl who like who's played by Aubrey Plaza, and she gets really obsessed with this Instagram famous person.
Uh-huh.
And she ends up like going and moving to where she lives and stalking her and making her become her friend without telling her that she found her through Instagram. And basically the thing with this character is that she like always gets these obsessions with like she'll like, you know, she'll do this like over and over. So at the beginning of the movie it shows that she like, you know, was obsessed with some other person that was on Instagram, and she forced her way into that person's life, and like it shows her like, you know, being like institutionalized because she takes it way too far, and she's like obviously like, you know, unhealthy.
Yeah.
But it's just a really interesting character study of like how people use social media and stuff. It like made me feel really conscious of the way that I use it too, because it's just like,
that's really interesting.
yeah, it's super good.
Huh. Is it on Netflix?
I don't know if it's on Netflix. It's on Hulu, so I watched it on Hulu with a friend.
All right. Well,
the other
I'll find a
day.
way to see it.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I'm glad it's good. I feel like there's always kind of small movies that are really good but slip through the cracks because no one hears about them.
No, yeah, totally. That always happens.
Did
What else?
prepare a one cool thing? Because
Oh.
I totally forgot about that until now.
You know, I have said many one cool things today.
That's true. They've all been one cool thing.
They've all been a multitude of cool things.
Other movies that I'm interested in? Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see those trailers? They looked pretty good.
You know, for some reason, I, like, can't get into the trailers, and I don't know why, but it looks beautiful.
Yeah, that's the main reason.
Yeah.
I was really interested, because the costume design, the production design, all looks really amazing.
Yeah,
I also
it's, like,
recently
beautiful.
watched Wonder Woman for the first time, because I hadn't seen it when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, like, the best movie I'd seen in a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was okay.
I really loved it.
I'm glad that you loved it. That's good for you.
It just, like, it plays right up my alley of things that I really enjoy.
I know that it does.
So... I didn't
God.
even mention that the story that we're doing in Color and Story is King Arthur, which
Oh, really?
I was also wildly excited about.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I
so-
also watched recently? I watched this movie called A Ghost Story.
That sounds really familiar. What is it about?
It's about a ghost. I
What?
think that you'd really like it, actually, just as, like, a think piece, because it seems like, I don't know, something that you'd appreciate. Yeah, it's, like, very heavily, like, themes about, you know, what it's just like to be, like, a person, and existentialism and stuff like that, so it's a nice movie, and it's very beautiful, too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. It's for a really, you know, I won't spoil it. I won't tell you anything about it because it'll be better if you don't know.
If I find the
anything.
time, I will watch. Okay. I think we can probably start to wrap up. I will say a one cool thing.
Okay.
I think. Have you ever heard of the blog called Muddy Colors?
No.
It's a blog run by fantasy illustration artists, and it's a really well kept blog, so they update really regularly, like once
so
a
rare.
day. I know, and it's always like really well known kind of fantasy sci-fi illustration people. They write articles about just stuff, like just art stuff.
That's cool. I'm looking at it now. Yeah.
Like the most recent post is by Donato Giancola, who's like one of my favorite illustrators ever. He's just really incredible. All of his work is like oil paint, and he paints like a kind of like a pre-Raphaelite. Anyway, his work is really awesome. Incredible. So
yeah,
that's how I found the blog. But it's also full of work from other artists, and they post all sorts of cool stuff. So that is my one cool thing.
I don't know if this really counts, but lately I've been playing a lot of Jackbox games.
What is that?
Jackbox, it's basically something that like you buy, and it's a playable game like either on most consoles and PC. What makes it cool is that it's basically a bunch of party games, and instead of having to use controllers, you can use your phone.
Oh, that sounds really cool, actually.
Yeah, it is really cool, and it's super fun. I want to play with you, actually. But the really cool thing about it is that as long as one person has it, everyone else just needs to have like a device that they can like vote or like write stuff down on.
Does it have to be in person? Like, do you have to be in the same? No, you can play it just anywhere.
You can play it. Yeah, you can play it online. As long as if you want to play it online, though, you usually have to have like somebody streaming it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's great, and they even have like a built-in function for stream delay, so they'll have like a stream version of the game.
That is
to make it easier
really,
to play.
Really awesome.
Yeah,
I think because I've played one game that was like kind of similar to that before. It was like a party game where the game asks a question, and then you give fake answers. And then everyone in the group gives a fake answer, and then everyone tries to vote on which answer is correct. And
that's part of it.
Yeah,
that's one of the games.
Yeah, I've played that one before.
Yeah, so Jackbox, it's basically like a bunch of different party games, and they like kind of list them as like board games and card games and stuff on the screen, awesome. So it's really cute. Yeah, but I'll invite you next time that I'm playing with people.
All right, that sounds good.
It's super fun. Yeah, I'll get our whole thing in on it, because I don't own it, but I have friends who do, so.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I kind of want to start streaming.
You know what? You should. If I had a PC, because you actually have a PC now, right?
Yes.
Like, you're building one at least.
That's what I'm on right now, is my brand new PC.
Oh, you're so lucky.
Beautiful. Dude, and I can run everything so fast.
I really want to get like an actual PC, because I've streamed a couple of times from my computer, but it's a mess.
Yeah, I've just like screen sharing from my laptop is like a nightmare.
Yeah, but because one, it's a laptop, and two, it's an Apple computer.
Yeah,
so there's no winning.
Yeah, so there's some parts of Windows that are, like, the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. Like,
well, that's just because you're not used to it.
No. It's here. I'll explain. I'll elaborate.
Okay.
So, one of the reasons that I got this was because I can work on it. Like, I can run Photoshop really fast. Because my laptop sometimes will freak out, and there'll be like little delays, and the cursor will lag and stuff like that. Just it's not a huge deal, but I was like, if I was gonna build a PC, I might as well be able to like work on it. So I go to use my PC to work in Photoshop for the first time when I got down here, and I plug in my tablet, and there's all sorts of weird behavior going on with the tablet. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And I asked my friend, who also recently had to switch to a different computer, and he's like, oh yeah, so you have to turn off all of the Windows Ink functions is the problem. Because
what's that?
Windows, because they have this new line of tablets that have pens now, so like they have the Surface with all of the the line of Surface with pens.
Oh yeah.
So anytime you plug in any kind of tablet, Windows 10 thinks that you're using a Surface tablet, and it wants you to use Windows Ink, which is all these like stupid like gestures and like touches and like little flourishes that they put on the cursor so that you can use their Surface like tablet pens. So I have to go into the settings and turn off like 16 functions about like what does press and hold do, like what does clicking this button do, why is there a circle that follows my cursor, why is there all of this, and so I'm like one by one I'm turning off all of these functions, and then I get to Photoshop and I realize that I can't use one of the keyboard shortcuts that I always use, which is I hit on Mac it's function control and then you drag left or right in order to make the brush size bigger or smaller.
Yeah.
On Windows, it's Alt right-click drag, which would be fine, except that when you use Windows Ink, you can't click and hold anymore. So I would try to click and hold I'd try to do a right-click and drag, but it'll only tap the right-click even if you hold the button.
I have so many questions.
No, it's not. I haven't even finished my story.
Okay.
So I go to turn off Windows Ink entirely because I hadn't turned off all the functions individually, but I hadn't turned off, like, you can from the Wacom settings, you can turn off the entire, like, you can tell Wacom to not use Windows Ink. So I go to do that. And then I don't have any pressure sensitivity. Because Windows forces you to route through Windows Ink in order to use pressure sensitivity on any tablet pens. So either I have to not have any pressure sensitivity, which is not gonna fly at all, or I have to give up this shortcut that is like a really kind of like a big part of my workflow. So it always is like really annoying to me when I have to like try and like change my brush size, but I can't use the shortcut anymore. And so I'm like on the internet for like 3 hours trying to figure out how to do this. And I finally figure out a way to do it, which involves sending a text file into the Photoshop preferences that circumvents Windows Ink and sends it to like WinTab or something like that. I don't know. It's very bizarre. I don't know how it works. But I finally did get it working. So that is what happened with me.
Oh my god. What? Okay, you know, this is why everyone stopped using Windows after Windows 7, alright?
So if you do end up getting a new PC or something like that, hit me up, because you will have to figure out how to turn off all this garbage. And it's quite an ordeal, I'll admit.
I wish that they'd still sell Windows 7 as a possible, like, operating system, because Windows 7 is, like, I might be biased because I used it for a while, but it's really good. And then I upgraded my computer, and then I just stopped using my computer that had Windows, because everything after Windows 7 is awful.
Yeah, so
I just want to go back to Windows 7.
That's my fun times with Windows 10.
Yeah, no, I have Windows 10 on one of my computers, and I just don't, like, because I have it as a virtual.
And it's just
so.
I just can't do it anymore. No.
It's just so convoluted. It's, like, not user-friendly, but at the same time trying way too hard to be user-friendly.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's just like that specific thing where it just assumes that any tablet you plug in is like a Windows like Surface Pro. You're like, I don't want this in my life. This is a Wacom tablet. I just want to be able to draw in Photoshop. Please stop hoisting your ideals on how to use a tablet pen on me.
I don't. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I don't have to deal with that yet, but I feel like if I ever graduate from my laptop, or at least graduate to also having a Windows computer,
just let me know, and I'll send you all of the resources that I had to use in order to turn off all of the stupid features that they include with it.
Thank you very much for offering your assistance.
Absolutely.
When I need it.
Well, I think that's most of what we wanted to talk about.
I can't think of anything else right now.
I can't either, except to say that hopefully we'll be able to do this more often.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I think we can do it.
Maybe not weekly, maybe like once every 2 weeks or something like that, but we can definitely make it regular again.
Yes.
Which is what we said last time, which was a lie, but
We
this time we're
will
really
do
gonna
it. We'll do it. I'm going to put it on my calendar as an actual calendar event.
If you have questions, comments, anything like that, if you want to send us Windows 10 tips,
Please.
You can email us at negspacepodcast@gmail.com, and you can subscribe to us on iTunes, and also show notes are available at samanthashay.com/negative-space. And, alright.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.